Shiite militia fighters stormed a state TV facility in Iraq's southern city of Basra on Sunday, forcing Iraqi military guards surrounding the building to flee. In Baghdad, residents awoke to mostly quiet streets after the Iraqi government extended a round-the-clock curfew in the capital until further notice. Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki acknowledged Saturday he may have miscalculated by failing to foresee the strong backlash that his offensive in Basra, which began Tuesday, provoked in areas of Baghdad and other cities where Shiite militias wield power. The fight for Basra is crucial for al-Maliki, who flew there earlier this week and is staking his credibility on gaining control of Iraq's second-largest city. Muqtada al-Sadr's followers have accused rival Shiite parties in the national government of trying to crush their movement before provincial elections this fall.
مع شديد الأسف أن أغلب الشخصيات من الائتلاف العراقي الموحد كانت من القسم الثالث الذي أجج للأزمة ودفع عليها وأكد على مسألة فرض القانون من قبل الحكومة وسمى جميع الرافضين لدخول القوات العراقية في البصرة سماهم عصابات وعصابات إجرامية.
Late Sunday, al-Sadr released a 9-point statement saying that he was pulling his fighters off the streets nationwide and called on the government to stop raids against his followers and free them from prison.
أن هناك ضمانات من ممثلي الحكومة العراقية على تطبيق هذه الفقرات فإذا لا مداهمات ولا اعتقالات عشوائية.
The Iraqi government quickly welcomed al-Sadr's move to resolve a widening conflict. Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki issued a statement calling it a step in the right direction. Real News analyst Pepe Escobar spoke with Basra native Sabah al Nasseri, currently professor of political science at York University in Toronto.
Professor al Nasseri, for all practical purposes, what we have here is a Shiite civil war. Who are the winners and who are the losers?
First of all, I would argue that there can be no civil war under the occupation for the simple reason because the U.S. troops are a direct involved protagonist within this conflict. So you can't have a civil war. The notion of the civil war is actually to justify the presence of the U.S. troops in Iraq. What I'm saying is that there is a struggle over political power and economic interest within the ruling class in Iraq. We have, on the one hand, al-Maliki and al-Hakim, like al-Dawah Party and the Iraqi Supreme Council. Those constitute major part of the current governing class in Iraq. And on the other hand, al-Sadr current. Al-Sadr current, they are against the occupation, against the current government, not because they are really anti-imperialist. Al-current Sadr articulate the interests of different classes and groups within the Iraqi society, those who constitute mostly the poorest, the unemployed, the marginalized within the Iraqi societies.
So the al-Hakim family and the Dawah Party, they are terrified they are going to lose political power in the next October elections to the Sadrists. Exactly. That's the key of the whole thing, right?
Exactly. The Iraqi parliament approved in February this year the provincial election in October 1st. Actually, the funny thing is that al-Hakim and al-Maliki wanted this provincial election at the beginning because they thought they will create a south region in Iraq where you have nominally majority Shiite communities, but also the major oil fields in Iraq. But now, as they realize that that's what I'm assuming, the al-Sadr current tried to transform their protest movement into political parties. And they knew if there would be an election October 1st in the south, al-Sadr movement would win definitely the election on all parts on the provision in Iraq. That's why they started their attack now on the al-current Sadr to destroy the movement and to imprison the top intellectual figure of the movement so that they will be sure that if there is election October 1st, they would win and they would have the majority.
So in terms of the American support to the Supreme Islamic Council and Dawah against al-Sadr, in the bigger picture, we still come back to the same thing. It's the American opposition to nationalist indigenous movements.
Exactly. As I argued well before the war, there's a correlation of interest between the current governing class in Iraq and the Bush administration. There's a kind of mutual dependency. The Bush administration tried to restructure the Middle East through violence and terror, what they call war on terror, but it's nothing but war of terror. And the governing class in Iraq, because they lack social bases in Iraq, because they were absent from Iraq for the last 3 decades, they need the U.S. troops to create, cement, and reproduce their political power within the new created states. And they knew right from the beginning, if you remember, in April 2003, when Jim Garner, the ex-U.S. general, wanted to make like local democratic election in Iraq, the first thing al-Hakim al-Maliki did was, with the help of the U.S. troop, to provoke al-Sadr, because at that time they thought he's weak. If they provoke him now, and they can get rid of him. But actually, this contributed to his popularities. So like from July 2003, the Mahdi army was created, and now it has like 60,000 armed men.
And the main contradiction seems to be that Iran and the US are betting on the same dog, which is the Supreme Islamic Council and the Dawa Party, against the Sadrists. But you know, the Iranian foreign ministry, they seem to be terrified of the situation. They issued a call for all parties to disarm because they fear that this might be a prelude for the Americans trying to reconquer parts of southern Iraq as a prelude to attack on Iran. How do you analyze this possibility?
Yeah, when I spoke of correlation of interests, of course, the interest of the governing class in Iraq, especially al-Malik al-Hakim, is to destroy the al-Sadr movement before the election. And the interest of the United States now, remember, we have this year election. And the United States, I think, they want to keep the U.S. troops within Iraq. So they need new provocation. They need a new conflict to justify the presence of U.S. troops within Iraq. So that the next elected president, be it Clinton, McCain, or Obama, will be facing like fait accompli, right? And I think this is the rationale behind the U.S. troops backing up the current governing class in Iraq. By the way, it's not only the U.S. troops, even the British troops that are backing up this offensive with Air Force. So you have British, American, and Iraqi securities attacking the current, the al-Sadr current. But actually, the Iraqi securities are nothing but the militias of al-Hakim and al-Maliki, especially the al-Badr army. So there are militias in uniform.